Hello, I am Janice B Gordon, the customer growth expert, and this is Scale Your Sales Podcast. Ranked among the top sales podcasts globally for CEOs and revenue leaders and growth focused organizations. We explore how to scale predictable revenue through smarter leadership, customer excellence, and data informed sales operations. My next guest talks about acquiring a new customer typically costs twice as much as expanding an existing one. The problem isn't the product. It isn't the team. It is that nobody is given those team members a clear operating system to act on. That's the gap of cross-sell and upsell and can account for an additional 50% of new revenue, she says. My next guest spent 20 years leading go-to-market teams at PwC, Cisco, Oracle, and high-growth startups. Today, she is the founder of Revenue CCO, advising CEOs of 25 to 100 million software companies across North America, Europe, and Asia. She is known as the upsell and cross-sell expert, helping companies generate consistent revenue growth from customers they already have. She also created the Farm to Scale operating system, a framework that turns untapped customer potential into predictable revenue engine. Welcome to Scale Your Sales podcast, Sandy Yu.
Thank you so much, Janice. I'm so happy to be here.
Oh, I'm so delighted to have you, Sandy, and I can't wait to get into this conversation. So let me start by asking you, many CEOs probably don't track this closely enough, but how much does it cost to win a new customer compared to growing revenue from customers you already have?
So that's actually a question that I ask CEOs a lot. When I first meet them, I ask them, do you know how much it costs to get your last 10 customers? Some know, some don't. And what they don't know is that it costs them twice as much to get a new customer as it does to get more business from existing customers. Twice, not 20%, twice. And so that's what I really focus on. I work with CEOs on helping them developing a system to actually drive more upsell and cross-sell for expansion sales.
That's it's interesting that they don't know that figure. If they're not sure about it, because it should be quite a precise figure that they know from within their business data.
Exactly. But what's the number that they know? The numbers they know are how many new deals they got in, or maybe even how many deals that they lost. And they may know how many customers that they would what they would love to have and what stage. They know all the things about how to market and sell and get the customer cross the line to be part of them, to be in the family. And then what happens? They leave them to support. Some companies have account management or they have customer success, but not enough proactive strategic conversations are happening with customers post sales.
And it's interesting, the wording. I've always gone on about this wording we use in sales when we say close.
Mhm.
Psychologically, that is ending something. And,
Yeah.
really, it's not closing, it's opening. It's the start of the relationship. And I think if we just started to, look at the wording we use, the language we have within the revenue industry, and the way we
Mhm.
talk about our customers, it would start to kind of change our psyche around it all.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more. Can you imagine if we thought the end of dating, well, marriage is the end of dating, right? Like, so all the work, all the courting, all the fun times ends right when you get married. It's just the beginning. I
That's a
couldn't agree with
well,
you more.
that's a great analogy because if you imagine, once you get married, that's the the equal to the close. Like that's where everything, that's where you go to die. That's where it finishes. You probably wouldn't be doing it. You wouldn't sign the contract, would you?
No way.
So, if expansion is such a powerful growth leader, why are so many organizations still struggling to operationalize it?
Um, it's due to the lack of clarity. So when you have to have successful cross-sell and upsell motion after the initial sale, it requires cross-functional collaboration. You want to know what kind of support tickets they have issued. You want to know how they have used the product. You want to know what successes they have. What things have they accomplished? Customers don't buy our products for the sake of it. They buy it to solve a business problem. It requires someone actively and intentionally working with the customer to say, what was the initial reason that you bought us? And did you actually achieve what you wanted to do? And the next thing is, did it achieve it in the time frame that you wanted to? And finally, what does that mean to your business now that you've achieved that goal? So there isn't really an intentional way
Yeah.
for companies to align around what expansion means and what upsell and cross sell means or what the signals are. And that's why they don't know how to do it, so they ignore it.
I would imagine that some people would feel a little bit awkward about asking the customer those questions, using the
Hmm.
assumption that they think the customer would think they know the answers to that. So they don't want to look foolish. So we're not going to
Yeah.
ask those questions. Do you think there's something in that, in the reluctance to go back to the customer with these questions?
I don't think there is a reluctance. Okay, two things. First of all, you have to do your homework, right? So don't ask the customer, "Ooh, when did you sign a contract with us?" Or "How many licenses do you have with us?" uh, I am using your product. The least you can do is look at our contract to see when I signed it and how many licenses of the software do I have. So you have to do your homework and you have to do beyond the minimum, right? You have to say, okay, how long have they been with us? You have to go and talk to the salespeople and say, do you remember why they purchased us in the first place? What problems were they trying to solve? And you have to look outside. You have to look at public information about the company. What projects do they have? So that's why it's not easy. You have to put all that information together in order to have an intelligent and helpful conversation. Remember, when you're having a conversation with a customer, it's to help them progress, not so that you can check off a checkbox.
I would imagine there's lots of CEOs that's thinking, well, I'm sure that's happening in my company. I'm sure they're doing that. They must be doing that. Otherwise, what are they
Mhm.
doing?
Yeah. Well, they may be doing other things that you ask them. And what I would say is that the mandate has been given by the CEO. Every CEO I spoke to, they're like, yeah, I tell my team to do that. I said, okay, do you measure that? Did you give them a process on how to do that? And who's actually responsible for that at the end of the day? Because I often hear that, well, everyone's responsible for keeping the customer. Everyone's responsible for identifying. And, you know, in my house, if something is everyone's responsibility, that means
So no one
no one's going to
responsibility.
do it. Like walking the dog is no one's responsibility. It's everyone's responsibility, as an example. And so that's why it's hard because
Yeah.
the mandate has been given, but the system hasn't been set up and the teams hasn't aligned on what it means to upsell, cross sell, and how to measure it.
Right. So if a CEO wanted to improve the expansion revenue immediately, what's the kind of first thing that you would examine?
Yeah, I will first examine how is being done. So when I'm working with the recent customer, I said, yeah, our account managers do that. And so I go talk to the account manager. I said, okay, well, in the last week, how many how many conversations have you had with a customer? Whatever, 10, 10, 10, 10. How many of those conversations are you exploring, doing discovery about additional use cases? Silence is what I usually get, right? And it's because they don't have a systematic way to do it. And then the other question I ask the salespeople is, well, how often are you checking in with your customer? Oh, once every 6 months. Our product is great. Or whenever they reach out to us. Or, oh, I talk to them when it's time to renew. There's not again, a systematic process for the salespeople, and that's not to their fault. Their job, they're being measured on how many new customers they get in. So people very naturally are going to be working towards what they are being measured on. And this is why you have to have clarity in terms of what the signals are and what to do when you have those signals and how it's being measured. And so without those components, really it's an aspiration and it's a hope.
So does it more naturally sit in customer success or account management?
I think it could sit in either depending on how the organization is set up. The important thing is there has to be a functional owner, and that owner has to orchestrate. And that's part of the piece that's when I come in and help CEOs build that orchestration for that cross-functional collaboration and workflow. It's not just people working together, it's all the data that are sitting in each functional team that needs to be collated and presented to the team, whether it's account management or strategic customer success management, to have a intelligent conversation that's helpful to the customer.
So why isn't the sales leader the person, the kind of the point person in this?
Why isn't it the salesperson?
Yeah.
Well, the trend is customer success are now part of the sales organization. So yes, they actually do. But my personal perspective is that the go-to-market is owned by the CEO.
Mm.
It's not sales problem. It's not a customer success problem. It's definitely not a support problem. And it's not even a product problem, right? It's the lack of clarity and alignment across these go-to-market functions. And who can lead that? That's the CEO, and that's who I work with.
Okay, so we've got the a repeatable process. We
Mhm.
understand the expansion opportunities and that naturally exist. And we have the framework for it. And the CEO is the person that's leading this, but there'll be someone operationally that's below the CEO is going to
100%.
continue to manage and motivate, the whole operation. Otherwise it begins to get lost with the amount of things that the CEO's got to do. So
Yeah.
tell me about that, an ideal structure.
Yeah. So ideal structure is you have the CRO that's responsible for all the numbers, right? The overall revenue number. And that revenue includes new sales and includes customers that have churned and also includes upsell and cross sell. And the team that executed could be account management or customer success. That's what the structure I set up for them.
Yeah, love it, love it. um I certainly know, whether we're talking uh, about most organizations, it's not something that is a key focus. It tends to
Yeah.
be haphazard, and I would imagine that a good, or I don't know, you would know more than me, there's a sizable percentage of revenue that is lost by not having the framework and the system in place.
Yeah, absolutely. So I just saw a benchmark report by Fullcast, 2026 go-to-market benchmark report. And they stated in that report that 52% of new revenue in 2025 came from existing customers. That means they analyzed about $7 billion worth of revenue, and half of that came from existing customers. So imagine how much money you're leaving on the table if you're the CEO of a company.
We put so much into the sales system, to the acquisition. We've put more energy into the retention, but it seems that the expansion is kind of been lost. And when you talk about 50% of new revenue comes from that side, it's really is a missed opportunity.
It's a missed opportunity because, but it's not really the CEO's fault because how are they measured, right? The investors that they work with, the are whether it's private investors or public investors, they're saying, well, how many new customers did you get?
Yeah.
Right? How many big logos? What does every CEO have? They have a logo slide, right? I think they need to have that same logo slide on expansion sales.
Mm.
These are the customers who know, love us, already have a contract with us, don't have to go through procurement, hello, right? Just for that, you should always go after existing customers. So I think it's because it's very naturally people work towards how they're measured. And I think systemically, how CEOs are measured is missing the part about expansion. Although, with this trend I'm seeing from investors that, of course, growth is expected. But when they get into the board conversations, they're expecting efficiency. They're demanding efficiency. And efficiency meaning you spend less, you earn more than you spend,
Yeah.
right? And
Yeah.
so, as I mentioned earlier in our conversation, it costs you twice as much to get a brand new customers as it is to get new sales from existing customers. So, not only do you get more, do you get revenue cheaper, but you also deepen the relationship
Yeah.
because now you're more entrenched in your customer more than ever. And then what else happens? Then your customer deepen their trust. Perhaps they may even start advocating for you. Because how do B2B buyers buy today? They may go to an analyst, go to Gartner, Forrester. Um, they may come to your website, maybe, but I talk to my CTO friend who recently bought a new product, right? Oh, why did you buy that product? Or I talked to my CMO friend. I said, "Hey, why did you stop working with that company?" Right? So your reputation, you don't always control your reputation, but you can control your customer's experience.
Yeah.
So imagine you go to the CMO and say, "Gosh, you've been a customer of that company for a long time." They're like, "Yeah, they're great. I mean, they're helping me. I thought they were just going to help me with marketing, but it turns out they were also able to help us in support and also customer success." And you know who loves that more than anyone else? Is the CIO. You have a cleaner tech stack, and the CFO loves that you have one bill to pay. So I it's really, there's no downside to really having more focus on upsell and cross sell. You get more revenue, you get more trust with the customer, you get advocacy, and you get simplicity and cleanliness within your organization. It's a win-win.
It certainly is a win-win. Your customers are always your best sales force, and it's how you set them up, and it's about the experience that you give them. And it's, as you say, it's a win-win.
Yeah.
Okay, Sandy, so what is the biggest revenue mistake that you see leaders make today?
Yeah. I think we've been talking about this all along, right? I think they are not putting enough investment on orientating their team to have that clarity and alignment on identifying what are the expansion signals, also the risk signals too, risk signals, you want to know that too, and what to do about that. Because the signals could be, as I mentioned in the beginning, could be in support, it could be in sales, it could be in product, it could be in the public, right? Maybe someone went on Reddit, one of your customers went on Reddit and raved about your product. That's a great expansion signal. So you have to systematically using your systems to build the components of that signal so that it becomes from signals to insight. and then having the clarity and alignment to say what is the team and what actions you're going to take. It takes an operating system, and that's what I bring to the CEO.
Yeah, love it. Okay, so what should CEOs prioritize to succeed in 2026 and beyond?
I think for them is to really think about looking at their various channels of revenue and then seeing if there's a gap in expansion revenue. I think they really need to focus on how to provide clarity for their team and test that, pressure test that. And looking at making sure that I think one of the things I would really encourage all the CEOs to do is have go to market metrics, not just metrics for each of the functional teams. Having go to market metrics that each team contribute to and know how they're owning it, what part they're responsible for. Having that dashboard that consists of annual recurring revenue, gross retention revenue, and net retention revenue. But it also consists of health score, right? And so a lot of, just to name a few, there's a component of things that CEOs should get the whole team to look at. So it's not how many leads I can generate. It's not how many sales I can close. It's not how many support tickets that I closed or how many renewals. Does that contribute to the overall growth, from the beginning to the end? That's how I think the thing that the CEOs are missing. And I think
Yeah,
that's what they should really focus on.
love it, love it. So what personal value has most influenced the way you lead?
Well, for me, it's curiosity. I am motivated by new experiences, and that's probably kind of what led me to this, right? I don't just want to do sales. I don't just want to do customer success. I don't just want to do strategy. This I love to help people think about things differently, a different perspective. And I'm super curious. And I think when you have that curiosity in why people don't do things, how are they motivated? What's the best outcome for them and how we can add more value to the relationship both personally and also in the workspace and with your customers. When you have that natural curiosity, it leads you to ask better questions. And also when I ask a question, I'm listening. And so I think that has helped me lead teams more effectively, have deepened my relationship with my customers and also my friends.
I love it. I love it. So how can listeners get hold of you, Sandy Yu?
They can come and visit my website is www.revenuecco.com. That's Customer Capital Optimization. So CCO for short. They can also reach me on LinkedIn. You can type in Sandy SYU, or you can do Sandy U Revenue. I should be one of the top 3 hits on LinkedIn.
Yeah, certainly are. It's been an absolute pleasure, and I know that we've talked about doing a live together because there's so much that we can talk about, and there's so much to delve into in terms of cross-sell and upsell, because it's an area where companies can and CEOs can gain great value that they're not capitalizing on. So we will be doing this again. I've absolutely loved having you on Scale Your Sales podcast. So thank you, Sandy Yu.
Thank you, Janice. It was so fun. I hope, I don't know if it came across, but like I'm super passionate about helping CEOs putting in the systems because come on, they're losing like 20-30% of their revenue just sitting there.
Yeah.
Let's build that revenue engine together.
Absolutely. Yeah. Love it. Love it. Love it. Love it. If you enjoy this episode of Scale Your Sales podcast, explore other episodes of insightful guest conversations or watch the caption show on YouTube. Remember to subscribe so you never miss an episode filled with strategies to help you scale your sales. I love to hear your thoughts, so please share your views and leave a review on iTunes. It helps us reach more revenue generators just like you. So until next time, keep scaling your sales.